Alright, so basically here's how this trick works. First up, we've got a star that appears in the city of David, the town of Bethlehem here, and if the star is appearing over Bethlehem, then that means we've got a baby. We've got the baby Jesus that is born, right? And if we've got the baby Jesus and we've got a star appearing off in the east, then that means we've got some wise men that are on their way to see the baby Jesus. Alright, but we need to lose the wise men in the desert because obviously they're not with Jesus yet. They need to follow the star in the east to get to him. So, first up, we've got the wise men of clubs. So let's take the wise men of clubs and we need to make sure that we lose him somewhere in our deck of cards here, somewhere in the desert. Right, so let's take him and, let's find somewhere. Oh man, these are plastic cards, so it's a little bit difficult here. Yeah, that's give or take the middle-ish, right? Alright, so we'll lose him just like that in the middle of our desert, right? Next up, we've got our wise men of spades. So we'll take the wise men of spades and we'll lose him also somewhere, give or take the middle of the desert as well. Alright, so we're going to lose him somewhere in the middle of the desert as well, just like that. And then we've got finally our wise men of diamonds. Our wise men of diamonds, maybe the wise men of diamonds was the one that brought the gold for Jesus, right? So we're going to take our wise men of diamonds, and we will lose him also, give or take, right there in the middle of the deck. All right, but we know that all that needs to really happen is for our wise men to follow the star, and just like that, we get our wise men coming to the baby Jesus. Hello, the world. Welcome to another installment of Magic Monday. I'm super excited. I know it's a little late, guys, and I apologize for that. But this will be the tutorial for how I did that Christmas card routine or Christmas card trick that I showed you literally on Christmas. So again, I'm sorry it's late. A bunch of stuff happened. Obviously, we had all the holidays, and everybody's busy during the holiday season. Even if I posted it, I'm not even sure anyone would have watched it. So all of the holidays happened, and then the first full week of January, the week of January 8th, I was actually out of town at a company get-together, which was actually pretty exciting. Our entire sales organization in my company got together at headquarters, and one particular night, a colleague of mine in management actually came up to me and said, "Hey, show us some card tricks or show us some magic." So I wound up doing like 2 card Monty and the ambitious card routine, and then a couple other tricks afterwards for a group of about 20-25 people surrounded. It was pretty nerve-wracking. I was counting on the fact that the vast majority of them were intoxicated, and that they wouldn't catch me flashing anything, any of the methods that I was doing, but I think I did a pretty good job. I wanted to have it recorded, but I was told by other people in the company that they probably wouldn't have let me post it on the Facebook or on the YouTube page anyway, just because it was an internal company get-together, and so, you know, for liability's sake, they didn't want anything shown publicly if someone was doing something stupid in the background, for example. But anyway, it was a pretty cool experience. Someone was telling me that when I floated my ring at dinner for the guy a couple months previously, he was taken so aback by it that he almost was going to call me on stage at the actual, like, during one of the convention times to perform some magic in front of the whole company, which would have been interesting. It's a really, really well-lit area, so I'm not sure how well a floating trick would have worked. But I would have certainly done some card tricks for them. But it wound up not actually happening. I did do a couple more card tricks before the week was out for some folks in the evening activities. But it was overall a really cool time. Again, I do card tricks and magic tricks at some of the conventions that I go to, some of the trade shows that I go to, because it's a really cool icebreaker, right? It draws in a little miniature crowd by the table, and then when I'm done doing a big routine, then they wind up saying, all right, so what do you guys do anyway at such and such company? Because I've been doing card tricks at trade shows now for this company that I'm at, which I was actually at it a while back, but then also there was an interim company that I was at between. Both of these companies I've done card tricks at trade shows for, so it's a really cool way of bringing in people without having to tell them what you do, and then them wind up asking you what you do because you've already hooked them in with this icebreaker, right? So, without talking and blabbing on too much longer, let's go ahead and get into how I did this 3 wise men Christmas card trick. Alright guys, so here's the setup. Holding your deck, I'm using a different deck. I'm using one of my Tally-Ho decks. I was actually using I don't even have it around me. I was using a plastic deck when I performed this for Christmas for you guys, which I actually performed it on Christmas Eve. But anyway, I was using a plastic deck of cards that had a very tight checkerboard pattern on it, very similar to B decks. Anytime you're manipulating the cards significantly and you want to hide flashing anything, I highly recommend getting rid of cards with this kind of a border, with a prominent border, because then you can see the cards separate very, very well. I'm going to use them for this tutorial just because this is what I have on hand, and it is easy for you guys to see exactly what I'm doing. But using a card deck like a B card deck, BEE, if you're not familiar, B cards are great for doing top changes. That was a horrible top change, by the way. But man, I was holding back that cough as best I could. Sorry. B cards are great for doing things like top changes or doing things where you're grabbing a card and moving it somewhere else in the deck, just because it's very difficult to see that card movement when the pattern is that complex. So that's anyway. That's a little bit of background on why I use that particular deck for the card performance, for the trick performance on Christmas. So the setup at the top of the deck is you have the Ace of Diamonds and the Jack of Hearts. The Ace of Diamonds, of course, being the star, and the Jack of Hearts being the baby Jesus. There are no... I mean, you can use any cards you really want, right? There's no effects that I do. As you noticed, I do literally nothing with these cards once I show them to the spectators. They literally get placed up here. I say something along the lines of, okay, there's a star that appears above the city of David in Bethlehem, and that means that the baby Jesus is born, right? And then I just kind of left those off to the side so the spectators could see them. The next three cards are already set up. They are the three kings that I'm going to use. Now, just for the sake of not confusing the baby Jesus with the three wise men, I opted not to use the King of Hearts. Sorry about that. I opted not to use the King of Hearts, so I'm using the spades, diamonds, and clubs, and I like to have them with the diamonds in the middle, just so that it's a little bit of contrast. I mean, you can really have these kings in any order that you want. This is just how I use them. I think I might have had the spades and the clubs switched up. I don't really remember, but I kind of think it looks pleasing to the eye this way. So you have those three on the top of the deck, and you have a pinky break underneath all three. So before I go much farther into the how-to, the tutorial of this particular trick, I do want to say that there are certain methods that I'll be covering that I might brush over more than other methods. If I do that, it is because, for one, some of these methods actually cost money, and you can go onto magic sites and pay for these methods. And for two, if I'm brushing over it, more than likely it's something that you're either already familiar with, having watched a previous one of my videos or watching magic all across YouTube, or it's something that I plan on going in heavier detail on a later trick. So bear with me while we go through this. I use multiple methods for bringing the kings to their final effect at the end, and of course you can always move the timeline back, move the video back, rewind it, rewatch segments, of course, and I'll do my best to explain them even when I do brush over them. So, again, the three cards on top here, we've got the three kings, and I have a pinky break underneath them. Pinky break, of course, meaning that I have my pinky wedged just a little bit underneath the top three cards, and this is so that, of course, I can have easy access to those three cards. So I start off by flipping over the top one, which is the King of Clubs in this case, okay? So the King of Clubs, and I say, all right, we need to put I say the Wise Men of Clubs. We need to take the Wise Men of Clubs and put him somewhere in the middle of the deck. And what I'm doing is I'm coming back here, and I am poking around the middle of the deck, give or take, okay? So that the spectators can see approximately where I, quote-unquote, will be putting the selected card. Now, what I do is something that's called the Marlow Tilt. You can look this up. There are plenty of YouTube videos that give this tutorial. I'll probably give a more in-depth one at some later time. But the idea of the Marlow Tilt is that you're basically psyching out the spectator into thinking you're placing the card in the middle of the deck, but really what you're going to do is slide it underneath your pinky break, like this, and bend the card just a little bit, just a little round bend like that, so that from the spectator's point of view, it looks like the card is going much deeper than just below the first card or the second card. And then you just continue to slide it in just like this, so that it goes square and flush, and then you flush up everything, square up everything just like this. And really all I did was I put the card the third from the top. So I'm going to show that to you again. Alright, we've got the King of Clubs on top. I have a pinky break underneath. Alright, the King of Clubs. All I'm going to do is this. Okay, we have two cards right here above my pinky, two cards still, the other two kings. And then the third king just gets placed just like this. Alright, just like that. And it goes directly underneath my pinky. I still have a pinky break underneath the top two kings. The other two kings being the diamonds and the spades. Alright? So next up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a double lift. So we've gotten rid of one king so far, seemingly lost in the middle of our desert, the deck of cards. I'm going to do a double lift. I do not yet want to show the top card being the king of diamonds. So in this particular case, someone could absolutely call you on this. This is one reason why I don't feel very comfortable performing this particular trick in public, but for the most part, people don't call you on it. You kind of go through them quick enough, and you showed the kings very, very quickly at the beginning, to where nobody really noticed the exact order of the kings. They didn't notice that the second king should have been the diamonds, when in fact, I'm going to show them the spades. So again, what I'm doing here is I still have my pinky break there. I'm going to put my finger underneath that pinky break and flip over both of the kings, revealing the king of spades and not the king of diamonds just yet. Alright, so I am skipping the king of diamonds again. They can call you on this if they really paid attention to the order of the cards at the beginning, but more than likely they'll just let you do your thing. Alright, so again, double lift. And if you need more tutorials on the double lift, feel free to check out many other YouTube channels that do magic. But again, I'll probably show you double lifts at multiple tutorials in the future. Double lift is pretty straightforward. There are multiple ways to do a double lift, but in this case, we've already got the pinky break, so it's very easy to just grab both cards and flip them over pretending it's one card. Alright? So you say, alright, now we've got the Wiseman of Spades. We're going to take the Wiseman of Spades. You flip it over, face down. You can lose your pinky break now. It's okay. And you say, we're going to lose him in the middle of the deck. Now you take the top card, which is actually the King of Diamonds, not the King of Spades. You say, we're going to take it, and you're taking the King of Diamonds, and you riffle down somewhere, and you say approximately the middle. Now you have to be careful not to flash that this is the wrong king. You have to be very wary and careful not to flash that it's the wrong king. You say, okay, we're going to put it somewhere in the middle of the deck, right about like that. And now you do something like this where you push. Now this is very common. I apologize. I will try to have the name of this in the description, but there is a name for this particular pressing of the card, where you press strong on the left side, your left of the card, and what that does is it has your your middle finger or your pointer finger or your ring finger, whatever the finger may be, right here on the corner. It uses that as a fulcrum and kind of twists around it, out-jogging it back here. Alright, so that is the king. Alright, so I'll show you that again. You put it in the middle, you press hard on the top left of the card so that it out-jogs down here. Alright, and all of that is covered by your hand. One more time, you place it in here. Again, if you've been watching YouTube tutorials already on Magic, then you've probably already seen something similar to this, but it is very straightforward. All of this will be covered by your hand, and you just press. And there it is, out-jogged right there. Now with it out-jogged, all right, I'm going to out-jog it a little bit more so you can see it a little bit easier. With it out-jogged, again, this is the king. I think it's the king. Yeah. All right. So with it out-jogged, you're going to get a pinky break on top of it. All right? And I like to get a huge pinky break. All right? You get a huge pinky break, and the reason for that is because you're going to do a certain control, a one-card control with that pinky or with your pinky and your ring. Whatever's easier. The idea here is that you're going to cover these cards entirely, all right? And you're going to pull. You're going to pull hard. All right? You're going to pull, and if you're very ambidextrous, or if you're very dexterous with your fingers, and you've done things like this before, then it's probably going to be easier for you. But the idea is you're going to pull that card and cover that motion. You're going to pull that card out from the middle. All right. Here's what that's going to look like. If I take off the top half of the deck and just show you, this is what I'm doing. I'm taking that one card out, just like this. All right. Again, there is a name for this. I apologize. I'll try to have the name in the description if I can find the exact name of this particular motion. If you know what this method is called, if you know what this technique is called, please either message me or just feel free to comment in the comments below. I thoroughly apologize for not having my research done ahead of time, but I will do my best to have that in the description, or if you point it out before I get it in the description, then I will put it in there, and I'll make sure to give you guys credit as well for pointing me out on my flaws and my errors of my ways. So again, what that's going to look like is you're just going to pull that out, slip it out from the middle of the deck, and that will make noise, so it's best if you're talking a little bit. And once that's completely out and cleared, you're going to say, okay, now we're going to square up the cards. And when you square up the cards, you are going to simply motion this way and place the card on top of the deck. All right? Just like this. You're going to say, all right, now we're going to square it up, and all of this is going to be under the cover of your right hand. All right? They are not going to see that you are placing that card directly on top of the deck. All right? And you just square up the cards like this. Again, all of that will be covered just like that, and they don't even see it happen. All right? So that is now the King of Diamonds back on top. Again, in almost full speed, you say we're going to take, all right, let me start off with the double lift again, all right? We take a double lift, we flip over, not the King of Diamonds, all right? The King of Diamonds is underneath it. We say we're going to take that King of Spades, and we're going to put it in the middle of the deck, just like this. You press hard on the left side, get a pinky break over top of it, and you just say, all right, now we're going to square up these cards, just like this, and it's already done. All right, the king is back on top, the King of Diamonds. All right, so that's part 2. I know that was significantly longer than part 1, but that's part 2. All right? If you need to rewind the video again, feel free to rewind and watch that over and over again, or see if you can find some other controls for controlling a card from the middle of the deck directly to the top without moving the top of the deck. All right, there are multiple ways of putting a card anywhere in the middle of the deck to the top of the deck. I needed one where the top cards stayed where they were. All right, so be careful of that if you want to use a different control. All right, and then finally, now we're in this position. All right, we have King of Diamonds, King of Spades, and King of Clubs on the top of the deck. I have no pinky break right now. I can freely say, all right, we're going to take the final Wise Men, the King of Diamonds, and then I make some kind of joke where I say maybe the King of Diamonds was the one that brought baby Jesus, or the gold, right? Because he's, diamonds. Maybe he's the rich one. But the idea here is after you show them that, okay, you need to do a swing cut. What we're going to proceed to do now is called the one-handed pass. There are other names for it throughout the years, but the one most popular in recent years is the one-handed pass. So there you go. I actually know what this one's called. So the one-handed pass, typically you don't do the swing cut first, but I like to do the swing cut. You do the swing cut, and in this case, we actually have to do the swing cut because you'll see in a moment we need the top cards to stay where they are. All right, but the idea here is you flip over the top card. Again, swing cut first. Okay, swing cut where you just take a packet of cards, fulcrum is your thumb, and you just put it in your left hand like that. You're flipping over this card, utilizing the right hand packet to assist in flipping over the card. And when you show them that king of diamonds, you are secretly going to get a break underneath the very bottom card of the right packet. Alright? And this is relatively easy to do with just one hand. Alright? It just happens just like that. You're holding your straddle, it's literally in straddle grip or a similar straddle grip. And you just grab with your thumb a break, just like that. Alright? When you go to flip the card back over, you flip it, and when you fully cover, you drop the card you got a break on top of the card you just flipped. Alright? So what that looks like, again, with a little bit of a revealed look, you flip it over, and you drop. And all of that gets covered by your hand and the top packet. Again, it's going to look like this, alright? So if I was to flip it without dropping the card, it looks like this. I did not drop the card. See? Now if I was to flip it with dropping the card, it looks like this. That time I dropped the card. See? So whatever little movement happens is for the most part shrugged away by the fact that you're flipping a card right now. Alright? So even if you think that you saw something in yourself practicing this, it's not going to ring a bell at all in the spectator's eyes. Alright? So once you've dropped your throwaway card, your X card, on top of the selected card, this is where you take it and you place it on top of the other packet of cards. Alright? And place your left packet, which is the top of the deck, on top of that card. Alright, this is still the top of the deck with our three wise men on top in the same order. Alright, this is obviously just a throwaway card. And you say, okay, we're going to lose that king in the middle of the deck. You freely square up the deck. I like to square it up by bringing it up vertical again, just so that it looks the same way as all of the other times that I squared up the deck. But you don't have to, that's entirely up to you. And now we're in this position. The spectator believes that all three kings are lost somewhere in the middle of the deck, but they are all three, in fact, on top of the deck. What we need to do right now is get one of those kings to the bottom. So, what I do is in the same method, alright, in the same method as we grabbed a card from the middle of the deck, I'm going to grab a card and put it on the bottom of the deck. I believe this is called a Houdini Color Change or something similar to that nature. I learned it a long time ago in high school. But it's very, very simple and straightforward. You just pull with your pinky or your pinky and your ring finger, and it's going to be covered by your top hand, all right? And this is another reason why it might be a good idea to square up the cards vertical, because then you can kind of help hide it as you take that card and just place it on the very bottom. Alright, so in full swing, it looks like this. You say, okay, say you've got some card that was a random card that you placed in the middle of the deck, right? And you say, okay, the king is going to go in the middle, and it goes in the middle just like this. Alright, we're just going to square up the cards. That was horrible, I apologize. That was completely flashing. So we're going to put the cards in the middle of the deck, just like this. Alright, that gets squared up. Alright, it gets squared up just like this. And like that, the card has been moved to the bottom. Alright, so again, the idea, always practice in a mirror, by the way, but the idea is you want to cover the cards completely when you grab that top card. Alright, so when you grab that top card, just like that, you do need to cover the cards completely, and then when you go to square up the deck, there it is, you can see it behind my hand right there. Alright, and it just gets moved to the bottom. Alright, so now you've got the king of diamonds on the bottom and the two black kings on the top. Now you can say, all right, all they need to do is follow the star in the east, and then you can snap your fingers or say some magical words or whatever you want to do, flick your wrist. But now you can say, look, there's one king or one wise man. And then the final piece here is very, very simple. All you need to do is pinch the cards, not too tight, not too light, just pinch them enough, and then throw the cards with a decent grip on the top and bottom. Throw the rest of the cards into your left hand. That will then pull off the top and bottom cards, which we know are the last two kings, just like that. But it looks really good. It looks like from the middle of the deck you pulled out the kings, and there they are, just like that. All right. So that's about all the time that I wanted to spend on this, guys. As of course, you can always rewind, like I've mentioned multiple times now. Feel free to rewind, watch it multiple times, get the methods down. I covered literally 3 or 4 different methods in this one card trick. So please use that to your advantage. The fact that I covered multiple pieces in this card trick basically makes this one tutorial like a tutorial for 3 or 4 different things. All right, which I was trying not to do, but I really, really wanted to do a unique Christmas card trick for last Christmas, and then just doing the card trick, I really wanted to do a tutorial on it. So it just, by nature of the way things worked out, this tutorial wound up being a multi-tutorial card trick. So take full advantage of that. Throw these methods into your current card routines, your current sleight of hand routines. And hopefully you guys can have fun with it. Even though it's obviously after Christmas now, you won't be doing this specific card trick. But the methods and techniques can obviously be used in a plethora of different ways. So as always, guys, stay squirrely. Hopefully you guys like what you're seeing. Subscribe to the R&D. Catch you guys.